I'm keen to introduce all our panel today. So firstly, I'd like to welcome Mary Brown and Margaret Codge to the session. Welcome, Mary and Margaret. Mary is a specialist in public health medicine and the clinical lead for QPS education within the NQPST. And Margaret is a facilitator with NQPST and has a particular interest in workplace culture, human factors, and person-centered facilitation. So Mary and Margaret will be kind of leading us through the session today. And then a big welcome to our colleagues from hospital end-of-life care who will be joining us really to bring some of that experience of what quality improvement in practice looks like. So Dr. Patricia White, end-of-life coordinator in Naas General Hospital. Zara Dag is the end-of-life care coordinator in the Midland Regional Hospital Tullamore and the Midland Regional Hospital Portlaoise, and their colleague Mary Maroney is a staff nurse at Our Lady's Hospital and Care Services Harold's Cross. So it's a pleasure to welcome you all today. And Margaret, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks very much, John, and good afternoon, everybody who's joined us here in today's talk time. I'm delighted to be here with Mary Brown, Zara, and Patricia. And we wanted to talk, as the title says, about building quality improvement knowledge and skills, and to tell you about some of the resources that are available for people now, but to do that in a practical way that brings it to life. And that's why we're so delighted to have Zara, Patricia, and Mary to tell us about projects that they did as part of the HFH, the Hospice Friendly Hospitals QI Quality Improvement Awards. By way of a little bit of background, the HSE and the Irish Hospice Foundation have a long history of collaboration, and you might be familiar with the work of the Hospice Foundation, maybe through your local community. If you're a GP, maybe you work in a nursing home or in a hospital, you might have partaken in some of their programs. But one of the initiatives that we've been collaborating on for the last 4 years is the HFH Quality Improvement Awards. And 4 years ago, it was the acute adult hospitals only that were taking part. But now the maternity services and children's hospitals are taking part as well, which is fantastic. And the awards give the successful applicants €1,000 to help them deliver on an improvement project in their workplace. And incidentally, the 2002 applications are open at the moment, and I know that Noemi is going to drop the link into the chat box for us, so thanks Noemi for that. And the purpose of the awards was to promote a comprehensive structure for the work that was being done by end-of-life care committees in hospitals all over the country. And often that work was seen as just the work of the committee, but it was actually really powerful quality improvement projects that were being done. And the awards was a way of recognising that and valuing it and ensuring that they got the same support as all other quality improvement work. The application form was based on the 6 drivers of the framework for improving quality from the HSE, and thanks Noemi, I know you're going to put that into the chat box again. And then we run support clinics for people just to go through exactly what's expected of them in their application and to help them to develop really good applications. We go through a very clear, thoughtful planning step by step of all aspects of the project, whether it's the title, the support that the project is getting in the hospital, the risks, the resistance that might be encountered, maybe some of the adverse effects that the project might have. We challenge people to think about how they're going to demonstrate person-centeredness in the way that they're collaborating with colleagues, patients and families on the project, and then how they're going to integrate the project into the overall work of either the end-of-life committee or the quality improvement committee in the hospital. So in effect, it's supporting people through the step-by-step approach to develop and then implement their improvement ideas. But enough from me. I'm going to hand you over to Zara and Patricia, for whom the awards was a platform for them to use this approach and to hear about how it worked for them.
Thank you, Margaret, for the introduction. We will start by giving you some context and background to the need for our project. Quality end-of-life care involves holistic, person-centred care, and this encompasses physical, emotional, spiritual, financial, and psychosocial needs. And I suppose it's important to say that we only get one chance to get it right for each person and their family. To meet all these needs, we need the collaboration of a multidisciplinary team, and we feel that healthcare assistants are really central to our teams. They spend a lot of time with patients and with families, and they're often the staff that patients and families turn to when they have questions about end-of-life care. And part of our role as end-of-life care coordinators is to provide support through end-of-life care education and training.
The idea for our project started when healthcare assistants were requesting end-of-life care training. We took this to our standing committee on death, dying and bereavement in the hospital, and they were in agreement. One of the nurses on that committee, the Nurse Practice Development Coordinator, suggested structuring the QI project using FIFE and FLEX training needs analysis framework, and you can see that here. This gave us the step-by-step approach to our project. Then we gathered a QI team to plan the project, which included a wide range of staff from different disciplines. And we also secured management approval. And as you can see, we got that from our general manager, from the quality, risk and patient safety manager, our operations manager, the director of nursing, the assistant directors of nursing, and the clinical nurse managers.
So one of the steps in the framework is to decide on our data collection method. So to get our project started, we met our QPS manager, and she talked us through the PDSA cycle to plan, do, study and act. And this really helped us to form the idea of doing a questionnaire for healthcare assistants to determine their perceived level of knowledge on end-of-life care and to identify topics that they wanted training in. Then we plan to repeat the questionnaire at the end of the training day to see if there was an improvement in their level of knowledge. And we decided that we would do 3 end-of-life care training days and that we would get continuous feedback and amend the study day based on our evaluation forms.
So we developed the questionnaire using the palliative care, just previous slide, the palliative care competence framework that you can see there. And this is 6 domains of competence. The questions were based on each of these competencies, and we asked healthcare assistants to score their agreement to each question using a Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. At the end of the questionnaire, we added in the open-ended qualitative questions. So how can we support you in your role to be able to provide end-of-life care? What topics on end-of-life care would you like to receive more education and training in? What do we do well when it comes to care at the end of life? And what aspects of end-of-life care do we need to improve? Our hospitals all strive towards the quality standards for end-of-life care in hospitals. So we can structure our quantitative results under these standards. Next slide, you can see it there now, the hospital, staff, patient and family. The results showed that all 6 domains of competence needed to be included in our training day. Our QI team included staff that had the necessary skill set to deliver this training, and they all agreed to deliver sessions on the training day. The qualitative results, though, were the reason we decided to apply for the Hospice Friendly Hospitals QI Award. Because the healthcare assistants were telling us that they felt that they provided quality end-of-life care despite the challenges. They want to be more involved in end-of-life care. They want to feel part of the team, to be listened to by colleagues. And the care they provided was to the best of their abilities, compassionate and understanding. And that they needed information on how to self-care and how to care for their colleagues during the pandemic. And so it was clear to us that the dedication and commitment of healthcare assistants to providing quality end-of-life care during the pandemic needed to be acknowledged.
So self-care and care of our colleagues was very prominent in our results, and we decided to apply for the HFH QI Award to use the funds to purchase self-care packages to present to the HCAs at the end of our training days. It was just a small token to show our appreciation. A colleague suggested using a company called the Holding Pond, which is an Irish company that sources products from local designers and makers, and they love the idea of the project. So they sourced self-care products for us at a reduced cost. We had a male and a female option. The female package included facial oil, hand balm and lip balm. And for the males, we had handmade shaving soap and handmade soap. The company also gave us discount codes to give to the healthcare assistants should they wish to purchase further items, and we hope that they would continue to take the time to self-care afterwards. A healthcare assistant who was on our quality improvement team also handmade personalised name tags for each package as well, which is a really nice personal touch too. The training days we delivered were very successful, and they included sessions on all of the domains of competence, and we gave some handouts and resources and refreshments on the day as well. The last session of our day was on self-care, and we wanted the self-care packages to be a surprise. So after the self-care session, we spoke about the HFH QI Awards, and we informed them that we had applied. Our Director of Nursing, Anne Murphy, was waiting outside the door for our signal, and she came in just as we announced that we were successful with the award application. So Anne thanked all our healthcare assistants for their dedication and their commitment to providing quality end-of-life care. She acknowledged the impact of the pandemic, and she presented them with the self-care packages and their certificates of attendance, which you can see in the photographs. It is very hard for us to put into words the surprise, the joy, the warmth and the energy in the room, but you could really see the smiles behind the masks. And for us, it was such an honour to be surrounded by such a caring group of staff. Next slide, please.
We repeated the questionnaire at the end of the training days, and 96% of the healthcare assistants rated the training day as excellent. The graph on the left shows the increase in the level of knowledge post-training. And you can see there that 78% of the questions had an increase, which ranged from 2 to 68%. We had also received some comments which further showed the quality improvement. So we got feedback like, I'm glad I came to the course. I understand things I had doubts about relating to patients and families during end-of-life care. Thank you. Absolutely brilliant. Every speaker brought a new insight. Thank you. Excellent course. A lot of information on where to access more. Great that healthcare assistants can have more of a role in end-of-life with the patient and their family.
So this was all made possible with an idea, the support of a team and management, and the HFH QI Awards. A small gesture of appreciation made a big difference to our colleagues who wholeheartedly deserved it. And we would encourage everyone with an idea who would consider a quality improvement project. It was and continues to be very rewarding for us and for our colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks, Zara and Patricia. That is a great example of that step-by-step approach, and you explained it so well, and it's so relevant for our time right now. So thank you. And next, I'm going to hand over to Mary Brown from the Quality Patient Safety Team, who is in conversation with Mary Moroney. Back in 2019, Mary Moroney led a project in Portunkla Hospital at the time. It was a small idea that's had a huge impact. So Mary, over to you. We seem to be having a little bit of difficulty there.
Sorry,
Mary Moroney just needs to unmute there.
Yeah.
Great.
Great. Thanks a million, Margaret. And I'm absolutely delighted to have the opportunity to have this conversation today with Mary Moroney, who's joined us from Our Lady's Hospice and Care Services, and to talk about the Keepsake Pouch. So Mary, would you mind starting off and explaining to everybody who's joined us this afternoon what is the Keepsake Pouch, and maybe give it and describe it a little bit more to us?
Okay, so the Keepsake Pouch is, as you can see, it's like a purse. This is the original, and then it was modified in COVID times. So this is what's available now. So the pouch is, as I said, a small purse for returning sentimental items in a dignified and a respectful way. So the symbol I obtained from the Irish Hospice Foundation. So the three inner circle is birth, life, and death. And then you have the outer circle, which represents continuity, infinity, and completion. I obviously looked at the color, and purple is associated with nobility, solemnity, and spirituality. So this idea was just a small idea on how I could improve the end-of-life experiences for bereaved families. So it was to do with very small sentimental items like ring, earrings, it could be just a scapula. So it was really just items that were very personal to the person who had died, and obviously they had very, very personal effect for the families.
Yeah, that's super, Mary, and thank you for going into the detail and describing the pouch to us. Where did you get this idea from? How did it come into your head?
Okay, so I was doing a course in bereavement and I wanted a qualitative initiative idea. So I brainstormed with colleagues, and one of my colleagues, her father had died, and she talked about how her mother had received a little pouch with her father's ring. So this was the development of the idea.
Very good, Mary. And if you might want to, if you have a little glass of water, do take a sip from it if you want. But that's fantastic. And when you brought this idea, you were saying you chatted with colleagues about it and how to progress it. What were your colleagues' reaction to it, and how have staff received the pouch?
Well, I suppose staff looked at it as a great gesture, something that was very personal, something that was, very individual and very person-centered and family-centered. So they viewed it as something, as a wonderful gesture and something that families appreciated.
Great. And Mary, probably more importantly, how did families react to it when they received their loved ones' belongings in the pouch?
So a lot of the families were very, very, as I said, appreciative, but they also, I remember on one occasion, a lady having it and she putting it to her heart, and she had personal items belong to her loved one.
Yeah. So it meant a lot.
It meant a lot. It meant a lot. It meant a lot to the families. It was something that they could use to aid them with their grief and with the irreversible loss of losing a loved one.
Lovely. And Mary, we spoke earlier on, and we can see it on the slide there, that little things can make a huge difference. And John asked the question of people joining us this afternoon as to what helped them get their little idea off the ground. When you think back to the start of this project, what were some of the factors that helped you to get this idea to where it is, where you're holding those beautiful pouches?
I suppose it was really getting the bursary, so getting the bursary, and also the recognition that gave the project. People suddenly became very interested. There was it gave it a platform, and it also gave it wings, and it gave it that credibility as well, where even 3 years later we're still talking about the pouch. And people are still, they're still, very much engrossed with it and feel that it was something from a small idea, that it was something that, has made such a difference.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. And in terms, when you look back over the last 3 years, and as you say, the idea took wings, what surprised you most about this piece of work and this improvement that you've undertaken?
I suppose because it was such a simple idea, it was something I was, I suppose, very passionate about, but I was also very concerned when I would hear stories of personal, sentimental items being returned in a plastic bag or an envelope, or in one occasion it was wrapped in tissue and somebody else said it was wrapped in tinfoil. So it was kind of providing something that was secure and ensuring that bereaved families received their loved ones' items in a very special way, a very dignified and a very respectful way.
That's lovely, Mary. And I think we might pause our conversation on that lovely note, and just to thank you for sharing it with us. And I'm sure many people online will have questions for you. But before I hand back to John for the question time, I wanted to take this opportunity to share with everybody some of the resources that we have within the Quality and Patient Safety Directorate that we hope will be valuable for people when they have an improvement idea, and supporting it to them to bring it to fruition. So Margaret, we might just go to the next slide. So the first resource, just to share with everybody, and I noted in the chat box that Evelyn O'Shea had said what supported her with her improvement idea was having knowledge and skills and having a QI method. So our first resource here is the QI, the Quality Improvement Knowledge and Skills Guide. And this sets out the knowledge and skills needed to support people to undertake improvement projects. The guide will also support individuals and teams to assess where they are in terms of their current level of knowledge. It'll enable them to highlight their strengths, but also some of the gaps that they may have, and it will, and they can therefore create a personal development plan following that assessment. Within the Knowledge and Skills Guide, what we have done is set out a QI learning pathway. And that really is aligning the different knowledge and skills along a stepped tiered pathway. So you'll see at the very start there is level 1, and that's the knowledge and skills to build that understanding of quality improvement and how it can have an impact and support quality and patient safety. The next step is our level 2. And again, you're building on your knowledge and skills. And this is really relevant for multidisciplinary teams who are seeking to collaboratively undertake an improvement idea. And then the third step along the pathway is for those individuals who are in leadership positions, or they find themselves in positions where they have the opportunity to influence the culture within their service or within their organization, and really working to try and promote and build that quality and patient safety culture. So to really, I suppose, bring that learning pathway into life, we've developed a number of QI learning programs. The very first one there, just at the bottom, might be of interest to a lot of people. It's a short 30-minute e-learning program. It's available on HSC Land. And again, it answers the question of, well, look, what exactly is quality improvement? How can it help me in terms of what I would like to improve around patient safety or quality? And what it does contain are some lovely stories from patient partners and also from staff and who share their experiences of being involved with different quality improvement projects. So to align over to our learning pathway, we then have a foundation in quality improvement, and we believe this program will really help to build that understanding around quality and improving it. It's a 3-hour e-learning program. Again, this program is available on HSC Land. It's spread over 7 modules, and people can complete those modules at their own pace. And we really feel that this foundation in quality improvement is relevant and applicable to everyone working across our health services. So the next step along our pathway is our Improvement in Practice program. The good news is that this is under development, and I see we've Caroline Keneally who joined us today, and Caroline is leading the development of this program. But this will be a 20-week blended program. It will be available for all teams who really want to develop build on their foundational knowledge of QI and develop some of the skills that they can apply while undertaking a small QI project. And then finally, at the top of the pyramid, we have our postgraduate certificate in QI leadership. This is our partnership program with the College of Physicians. People online may remember it used to be called our diploma. It's spread over 42 weeks, and John is one of our lead faculty on that program, along with Peter Lackman. The good news is Noemi is just going to pop into the chat box because the applications for that program are now open, and if anybody's online, they might like to look that up. And then finally, I have to say, we were delighted to be able to develop our first prospectus of education and learning programs to highlight all the opportunities that are being provided across the Quality and Patient Safety Directorate. This was published just last month and includes a lot of information around programs and networking opportunities. But, you know, it highlights programs that we have in relation to incident management, in relation to open disclosure, also clinical audit. And I'd just like to mention that our colleagues in the National Centre for Clinical Audit, which is part of the Directorate, have made available in the last few weeks quite a number of programmes, both online and face-to-face. So again, just if you can find information in our prospectus, you can also find information in our on our website or searching up Eventbrite. We also have information, our Swartz rounds and our QPS as I've said, we've some information about how people can connect around quality and patient safety and the different networking opportunities. So that's probably all from me. John, I might hand back to you now for question time.
Thanks, Mary and Margaret, and thank you all of our contributors there. That was some fabulous work. Thank you, and really, you know, wonderful examples of person-centered quality improvement and quality. I heard somebody recently saying that they wanted us to stop talking about best practice and start thinking about, you know, inspiring practice. So practices that we see that might inspire us to do something. And I think that Anne Lawler in the chat there mentioned the idea of autonomy, and I think we need that autonomy. You know, that best is such an adaptable thing. But I certainly feel inspired after hearing those talks, and there was a few things popped into my mind listening to that. You know, that were inspiring me, and I think one was the idea of good partnership. You know, and obviously, you know, whether that can come in many forms. I think the hospice friendly hospital program, you know, obviously helps, you know, generate kind of the energy and obviously some of the funding and things like that. That was one good partnership. Obviously the relationships with the quality and patient safety directors and the education that's available and the help that provides, because I think this work is always hard to do on your own, and I think you need good partners. The second inspiring practice I saw was good ideas, and again, I think with people at the center of those, and you know, I love the hospital staff, patients, and families framework there from that project, and of course all of the work that Mary was doing is just deeply person centered. And then the last thing that I was inspired is to see how valuable a method is, you know, an approach to things, but again, how adaptable that can be from project to project. And so it's not getting kind of wedged or stuck with one approach. So thank you all. That certainly, I think, is a lovely example of inspiring practice. I might just start the chat with Margaret. Would you mind if I you know, had a chat with you? I mean, there's you know, there's so many things you can know about improving quality, but how much do you need to know to get started? You know, do you need to be an expert to get a project off the ground, or where can you start?
Yeah, not at all, John. And there's so many committees and there's so many groups and there's so many people doing fantastic work, and it is quality improvement work. Just like the end of life care committees were doing those years ago. So no, you don't need to be an expert. You need to have a passion and a desire to make something better and a willingness to do it with other people, because you'll never get it done alone. So you need that desire and willingness to work with others. A step-by-step approach, some sort of a structure is very, very useful, just to put a shape on it and to get you to think about things that you hadn't thought about before. Whether that is just literally going through the application form like there is on the HFH website, or through the framework like there is on the HSE website. But the more you learn, it's like anything, the more you learn, the easier, and the more fluent you become, and hopefully the easier it is. So as you build your skills through that type of learning pathway, if that's the way you want to go, well then that's great, and that makes it easier. But no, you don't need to be an expert to get going.
I think people are often worried that you know, these are serious things we're trying to improve. You know, that they might be successful or they might fail. What do you think of that? I mean, how do we help people get over that fear of failure?
Yeah, I think it's an acceptance of giving it a go and trying it. And if it doesn't work, you go back and you do it some other way, learn from it. And that's again included in the step-by-step piece is what did we learn from it? Do we do it the same way again next time, or do we need to change something the next time? So do a little bit. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Don't do it that way again. Move on and do it another way.
Yeah, great. I absolutely agree, and I think there was lots of examples of that. I think from the talks we heard there, and I think
Yeah.
you know, lots of from the chat as well. You know, lots of good advice there. I think kind of you know, those little maxims that you hear in quality improvement of things that help us. You know, so Juanita had put in there to go slow to go fast. You know, I think that's a great little insight. You know, that take a bit of time at the beginning and think about it and then try things out. Or Deirdre's the perfect is the enemy of the good, and I think you know, it's been able to just try stuff in a small and safe way. Can I come to Zara and Patricia, and did you enjoy working on the project?
Yeah, I definitely found it really, really rewarding. We've 3 training days done in Naas Hospital, and we're hoping to possibly replicate it in the other hospitals in which I work as well. And Patricia's actually replicated again in Naas for a different cohort. That right, Patricia?
Is
You're
Patricia
just on
there?
mute.
Yeah.
Sorry, that Zara had begun all of this process. She had been working in NACE, and I just took over in January. So all of the hard work was done before I came. And I suppose seeing how well it worked with the healthcare assistants, and also, you know, speaking with the nurses here, that there was a need, I've actually kind of replicated pretty similar to what Zara had set up for nurses as well. So we've done similar training with nurses, and we also included a token of appreciation as well, because I think that was a really important aspect of the project.
Yeah, I thought that was a lovely touch at the project. And what would you say? What have you learned that you really didn't know before this project?
I think a structured framework really helps to get the project going and to keep you on track, and it kind of gives you a timeline to stick to as well. But I definitely feel having a team behind you and having secure management approval definitely has helped along the way as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you obviously cast your net quite big. You know, you involve lots of people. You know, was that difficult to manage, or you know, was it an important thing to do?
I think it was important for us, and you know, we had discussed it at our standing committee on death, dying and bereavement, and actually a lot of the members of that committee took part in delivering sessions throughout our training day. So I don't think it was particularly hard to sell, because everyone was very well aware of the important work that our HCAs do in the hospital and about how important it would be to acknowledge that.
Yeah, great, super work. And Mary, can I just ask, you know, the same thing to you? What you know, Mary Maroney, that is there. Just you know, what did you learn really that you would say you didn't know at the beginning of your project?
I suppose it was the knowledge. I was doing it as part of action research. So obviously I was following a very structured program. So mainly knowledge, but also the skills of actually getting people involved, how you get them to buy in, how you could get them to be part of it, and giving them some ownership as well. And that was something that I was very much involved in with the colleagues that I worked with. So that they were part of it, and they were a great part of it, because they were the ones that were, when I wasn't on duty, they were the ones that were handing that pouch to relatives and sharing it and then sharing it back with me. So that was, for me, that was my journey of learning really. And I suppose I got a better insight into how stuff I didn't know at the very beginning. But as I progressed with the project, I felt I had a greater understanding, and I was aiming at care of the bereaved families.
Thank you. And again, that's another nice reminder of another great partnership, I think, is that research partnership. You know, and again, you know, it's another key partnership that helps bring projects along, and thank you. You know, all the descriptions of co-creation there, of all the people you worked with, and how important that is. Mary Brown, maybe a question for Mary Brown. Mary, how do you think people can best use the prospectus? I mean, and get the most from it?
I think looking at it, John, it's our first time doing it, and really, I suppose, trying to make it easy for everybody by pulling all the different resources that are available from the National Quality and Patient Safety Directorate. It gives information on the different programs that are available, and then also details on how to access those programs. So our hope also, John, just to say, is we hope to expand on this and to produce it every year, so that all new learning opportunities are included in the prospectus.
Great. Thanks, Mary. So really encouraging people to get out there and look at it and just become familiar with it. I'm just going to go to the chat there. There's a question from Cara Madden, which I'm going to throw out to everybody here, and it is a fundamental question. Patient involvement can give you new ideas. How do we encourage patient involvement in all these projects? And I think obviously, you know, there has been patient involvement here. Just tell us what you've done and what you've learned that might make that patient involvement better. I try to Zara and Patricia maybe first, and
I think it's obviously a very good question if we're and one that's making us think. I suppose in relation to our project, we were looking specifically at the needs and the training needs analysis of healthcare assistants. So it was, you know, we were involving, it wasn't the patients that we were involving, but rather than us as a team coming up with the education that we felt healthcare assistants, we started with them and we asked them what they needed. So I know it isn't patient involvement, but I think it's that sense of involving the people who will ultimately benefit it, to have complete involvement. So I think in that way there was a very active collaboration, you know, from the beginning in this project.
Super. Thanks, Patricia. Margaret, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, John, and it's something that we're, and I see Anne Lawler has comments to that. Myself and Anne talk regularly about this, and it's something that we're promoting hugely. Is this a whole idea of learning together and making opportunities for that, like, so that the ideas are generated together and that we learn this knowledge and skills together as well. And it's prompted us to take a look at how we do that and about what access is given to our patient partners and for the people who want to work with us to make things better, and how we learn with them. And it's only very recently that we've started to work on getting patient partners access to the very same learning programs, because patient partners are involved in the hospitals, in the end-of-life committees. A lot of hospitals would have members, you know, of the people who use the services in the hospitals involved. But we need to move that on now so that we're more actively learning together. And I think this is a good way of doing it, opening the programs so that we all have access to the same knowledge and skills and build it together.
Yeah, and Cara Madden is asking there, you know, are there patient reps trained up? You know, I suppose in my own experience that there's lots of patient, I suppose training is such an open, like, you know, there are many types of training, but certainly I think there are patients who really, you know, contribute, you know, hugely, equally, I think, to a lot of quality improvement projects. And I like that idea, Margaret, of you know, learning together isn't just good. You know, it's good for relationships, but it also generates new ideas.
Yeah.
You know, and is the way to, I suppose, developing that inspiring practice.
And I think that maybe we've had a tradition of people who use services might be the guest speaker, or they might come and share an experience or something. But learning together brings it to another level, which is what we're actively trying to do now at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think while we all appreciate there are examples of where, you know, the patient voice and patients themselves have been involved. We all recognize it needs to happen a lot more, you know, and it needs to become the norm, and it needs to, you know, be expanded, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
And a nice comment from Anne Lawler there. Yes, together we can move mountains. I absolutely agree, Anne. Thank you. Well, folks, it's been a pleasure. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us and for your contribution today. And I look forward to hearing about your work into the future. Anybody want to say anything before we close up the session? Any last comments?
No, just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank
Thank-
you, thank you, Zara, thank you, Patricia, thank you, Mary, and Mary and Margaret. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John, and thanks everybody.
Thanks, John.
We've just lost your sound. You're on mute. Apologies.
I've been muted. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Just to, Mary mentioned the RCPI program there, the Postgraduate Certificate in Quality Improvement in Leadership in Healthcare. The closing date for this program is coming up in the next couple of days, so please get your applications in now. There's some more information. It's in the chat box there. You might be interested, or you might have a colleague who's interested, so please share it. This is again, you know, like we've been talking about, this is a team-based program where people learn together. Next slide there, please. Just to make people aware, as we have been over the last few weeks, just the new Oxford Handbook of Patient Safety is still out there. I certainly would encourage people to get a copy. It's full of really practical patient safety and quality improvement ideas that will help you in your work. Next slide there. Again, appeal to people to join the QPS Ireland Network Map. So the link is there, and you can find it on our webpage as well. But you know, what's important is to know who's out there, what you're doing, and again, like we talked about, you know, the importance of partnerships. You know, I think the first step of partnership is knowing who's there and what they're doing. So please log in and let us know who you are. Make sure that we know what you're doing, where you are, and that your voice can be heard. Next slide there. Again, another network initiative is to really appeal to people to join the Q community. And again, this is across the countries of Scotland, England, Wales, and Northern Ireland and Ireland. So there is a Q community within Ireland, but we also have the ability to you know, form a community with our colleagues in the rest of the UK and Northern Ireland, and really appeal to people to join that. And there's lots of other benefits to Q. Our colleague Caroline Lennon-Nally can give you further information and certainly encourage you to join. And for those of you who love QPSTalktime, I have some good news. You don't have to wait 2 weeks for the next one. We will be back again next Tuesday. We moved this session forward, so we actually only have 1 more week, 7 more sleeps before the next QPSTalktime. And that will be with our colleagues from the Patient Safety and Learning from Lorraine Schwanberg and Catherine Hogan. So I think for those who are interested in patient safety, I think that'll be a really great session. And for those who want to learn more about it, please join us. Please let us know how we did today. You'll get a short pop-up as you close the link here now with some questions. And like I said, we do read them, we do take them on board, and we do try and action them. So really encourage you to do that. And I'd like to thank Maureen and Noemi and Shima and Juanita and all the people in the background who you don't see, who really do all the hard work in pulling these sessions together. So I'd like to thank them all. And I'd like to thank you for joining us today and for the chat. And thank you very much.